Mic check 1 2. 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 Yeah. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Good morning, Rancheroos, and welcome to the Ranchcast. As always, I'm Jason Van Brackle, the Director of Community at Rancher Labs. And today we're going to talk about FluxCD. So let's do all of our normal getting started stuff. So I'm going to go and grab my screen. Um, as always, you can follow me on Twitter. My name is Jason Van Brackle, or JVB, and that just means there were way too many Jasons born between 1979 and 1983. So I'm just one of many, and JVB is easier. If you'd like to join the conversation today, you can do that on slack.rancher.io. Put in your email address and you can join the 300 other people who are live right now and the other 12,000 plus who are registered. So in addition to that, today we're going to talk about FluxCD. FluxCD is a GitOps operator for Kubernetes. This is a sandbox project of the CNCF. These are the earliest projects in CNCF. If you've been around for a while, they used to be called incubator projects. So we'll be listening along on the Ranchcast channel here in the Slack workspace. Joining me today is Chris Carty. He is a CKA, was a member of the 116 release team working on release notes, and for 117 he's the lead. So let me grab my Zoom and good morning, Chris.
Morning, Jason. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Dandy. Thanks for having me. This is an honor, and I'm very excited to be here.
Well, I'm glad you could join us. I'm excited about it. I'm a big DevOps proponent, which means lots of automation.
Yep.
And big into like trunk-based development and kicked right from master, CI/CD, all of that. So this is like right up my alley. Lead software proponent, all of that. So really excited for the day.
Yeah, it seemed a nice little on-theme presentation. So hoping everything goes smoothly.
Yes, we've done our sacrifices to demo gods. Had extra coffee this morning, and so on it goes.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to hide myself and give you the entire screen and the entire floor, and I'll let you run.
Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen here. So over the audience, I'm not sure how familiar you are with GitOps or Flux. Essentially, I think so. Weaveworks kind of coined the term and a lot of the parameters around GitOps, but I would assume most people are more or less already kind of doing it. Generally dictates that store your Git becomes your source of truth. That's where everything kind of gets stored, whether it's your KTML, Terraform files. It kind of helps us move to that utopia where everything is stored declaratively in Git. You lose your infrastructure, not a big deal because you have the state already there and you just reprovision without having to go and tinker. And Flux is the Kubernetes operator for that, and we've been using it. I've been using it for the last few months with great success. I'm a big fan and hope to share it with a lot of you today, and hopefully make some converts. So I will kind of kick off. So there's a couple different ways that you can deploy Flux. I'm going to focus on the first basic deployment, and so I'm just going to open up my standalone here. So what happens here is Flux will give you a nice big YAML file. So there are a couple different ways you can get that. You can either clone their Git repo, or you can...
Are you shared your screen?
It should be shared.
I'm not seeing it. Let's see.
Oh, I selected the icon, but I didn't share it.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so there's our technical glitch for the day. Okay, so is that sharing okay now?
I believe so. Let me double check the OBS stream. Yes, we are sharing.
Yes,
okay.
Awesome.
Just make it a little bit larger because I'm half blind.
Okay, sounds good. I can make that happen. There we go. So that look good?
That looks good.
Awesome. So so where was I? So you can either clone their repo. Probably the easiest way to do that is with the FluxCTL command line tool. So there is if you're on Mac, you can use a brew to install it, and I believe on Windows there is a Chocolatey installer, as well as I can't remember what the other package manager is, but Chocolatey.
Chocolatey is all you related to on the Windows world.
Okay.
I mean, there are others, but yeah.
Scoop, I think, is...
It's the only one I recommend, but yeah, Scoop is just fine as well. But yeah, Chocolatey is like my go-to.
Yeah. So you can do Flux install, and that will give you... So you have to pass it a couple... Oops, Flux. course, I don't have it installed on my work computer yet. So I was doing the demo on my Mac last night. So all the YAML files are here, but there's a FluxCTL you can use install, and that will give you the, you pass it the Git URL that you want to have Flux monitor and clone. So that way, if someone logs into your cluster, makes some changes, so does a scale set through kubectl, Flux will take action to revert that to the state, which is in Git. So it does a poll interval default of about 5 minutes, but you can modify that within the spec, which is really nice. So this is the output that it'll give you. So create your service account, your cluster role, and then finally your deployment here. So that's all preset. They have it queued up for Prometheus out of the box, which is nice. You can provide your own Git key. When Flux gets generated, it will need a Git identity to sync up with your Git repo. So normally you just log into, say, GitHub or GitLab, add a deploy key, and then it'll use that to authenticate with your repo. We use it with Azure DevOps as well. We've had no issue with that. Actually, all those Azure DevOps, GitLab, and GitHub we've tested, and they work pretty well out of the box.
Awesome. I was going to ask you about Azure DevOps because I every conference I'm doing now, I'm getting asked about Azure DevOps, or if I'm having a chance to check out GitHub's new DevOps system, and I got accepted to the beta, so that'll be a future episode.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I just got accepted into their container registry beta.
Nice.
So, yeah. Looking forward to kicking the tires on that. Yeah, so here's the rest of the YAML. Nothing too scary here. Your resource requirements. There's your image. The fun stuff is down here at the args. So we're telling it where to get the SSH key, so you can pass your own if you wanted to. Here's the URL that we're going to be syncing up with. The nice thing that I like about this is it you can target specific branches. So if you're following some of the more minute GitOps patterns, you can have, or how we have it set up is each branch syncs with a specific cluster. So we have a operator sitting in our dev cluster, prod cluster, QA cluster, and they just sync up with a specific branch. So you can kind of manage things that way, which is really nice.
So quick question. I don't want to assume anybody listening actually knows what GitOps is. So give it like a 30-second synopsis of GitOps.
Oh, yeah. So it's just the state of everything. The single source of truth is Git. So nothing is done on the fly. All the changes come from Git. So we do a PR. So it's more operations by pull request. So you do a PR, it kicks off a CI/CD process, and deploys it to either your cluster or provisions your infrastructure. So you're not doing any hand tinkering. Everything has to go through Git. That's how I interpret it. Other people may have slightly different interpretations, but that's kind of how I go. Git first, and then let the machines do everything else. So
that seems consistent with everything we talk about DevOps principles and automation, all of that. So
yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, automate all the things. So that's kind of the utopia where I want to move everything to. So it's just, there's always a little, just getting there is the fun part. Yeah, so that's where you to kind of sync up. So if you're looking to do promotions or anything like that, again, you just promote through the branches, and then this would sync up with all the changes. And your users don't. The nice thing about this method is you don't have to give your users access to kubectl. So you remove that security element, as you'll have the operator doing that for you. So you could have someone just who is not very familiar with Kubernetes make a change to the YAML deployment, commit it back to the master branch, and someone can approve it, and the change gets made. So you don't have to worry about necessarily training people or any security parameters, managing different user accounts. It centralizes things quite nicely. Yeah, so we have a bunch of other flags I'm not going to really dive into here, but you can, you can do a lot of nice things. And the other fun thing that Flux will do is you can, I don't see the tag here for it, but you can tell it to also monitor a container registry. So it will look for the image tag that resides in that Git repo. So in this case, I'll just go over here to my deployment. So it'll watch this tag or image tag, And as a container gets built, it will pull down that image for you and then update your Git file, or sorry, your YAML file here with the latest image tag.
Oh, nice.
And then commit that source back to Git on your behalf.
You mean you just don't want to point the latest all the time?
Exactly. So here I can show you. Just
you may be familiar with my tirade on never point at latest, even though
yeah.
all of our documentation says latest.
Yeah, I'll be writing or hopefully writing an OPA policy later that will prevent anyone from using the latest tag in anything but say dev,
cool.
where we can just let devs kind of have at it, but once they get to QA or prod, they'll have to abide by the actual warnings. So you can see here, auto release was made.
I'm going to have you back on for OPA, because for those who don't know, OPA is Open Policy Agent. It's another open source project that allows you to create arbitrary policies in the Kubernetes space. It gets namespace. I mean, it works outside of Kubernetes, but in the context of Kubernetes, arbitrary policy gets namespaces.
Yeah, so it also works for things like Terraform files. I've even seen some policies written to manage your AIM accounts. So if you have those in Git, it really just needs a JSON file, and then you can write things policy against that. So if you can make it a JSON, you can have an OPA policy for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. Rego is a little bit of a head scratcher at first, but once you get used to it, it's quite powerful.
I think that's a great way of putting it. All these things seem to have their own domain-specific languages, and it's just wrapping your head around the domain. Once your head's wrapped around the domain, you're rolling.
Yeah, so I think at Astraea, they're the company that makes that. They have a nice a GUI tool that kind of lets you click and drag and make your own policy. So they've provided the GUI language on top of that, so you don't have to necessarily dive down to Rego, which is cool. So hopefully more people get on that boat to lower the entry level.
It's like doing XAML during the .NET days.
Yeah, yeah. So just to go back to the Flux here, so you can see I had a image tag here called Hello Kubernetes version 9, and then Flux took action to deploy the new tag and commit it back to the repo, which is very handy. So you can really get that continuous full automation cycle. So you have GitLab or Azure DevOps do your container build, have all the security parameters there. It kicks out the container, and then Flux will just monitor that repo for it. And you can also pass in. I'll scroll up here. So there's a tag. I think it's FluxCD dot. Oh, come on, computer. CD / I'm going to do this tag wrong, so I apologize if anyone knows Flux more than I do. Tag, and then, so in this case, your app name, my app, and then say, I think it's glob, and then the regex pattern. So in each of those, for your dev QA prod cycle, you can have have it just append or pre-append with, say, dev, QA, or prod, and then you can have the Flux agent in each cluster just kind of monitor for that tag with that pattern, so it'll grab the right thing, and you won't necessarily, grab the wrong image and deploy to the wrong region. So you have a lot of fun control.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and deploy this just to give you an idea of how it actually works. So it's a little bit bigger here. So let's make sure I'm actually hooked up. Hooray. Backed by Azure. I know you're a big fan, and I deployed it through Terraform. So nice. Yeah, trying to stay on theme.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm looking at Pulumi right now. I've got this crazy idea about unit testing infrastructure as code.
Okay.
And I think it's a more native shot to do it with Pulumi, only because the it itself is a code tool with an SDK.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a few people on Twitter going on, but I'll have to actually take a look at that. There we go. So there's our container creating. Let's watch that. Yeah, I think, because we're going to be doing using OPA with our Terraform policies. So
Okay.
maybe not unit testing per se, but making sure that we're deploying to the right region. People aren't deploying AI learning and going crazy. Okay. So let's do FluxCTL.
Yeah, a lot of my side stuff right now is machine learning, and I haven't got quite into just pure AI, but the machine learning and building the black box and just watching it churn. It's the
Yeah.
thing I do. It's the thing I do when the kids are asleep, and my wife's zonked out when we fall asleep watching TV.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. So the agent is up and running, and here just pass our identity command. It's going to give us a nice little SSH key, and I'm just going to pass that over to our repo here. So I'm not too worried about this being publicly viewable because I'm going to be destroying the deploy key after this. So if you are watching, please don't take advantage of this. I have no money.
I think I say that at every conference when I do a live, like I hook up to GitHub. I'm like, okay, you're all seeing the key. We're trusting one another because we've known each other for so long.
Yeah. And there we go. So my app is creating already.
Nice.
So I didn't have to do anything. Oh, there we go. So I'll just do okay, good. SVC, just to show you it's actually working. Okay. See, I should have made the service name a little shorter, but c'est la vie. 80, 280. And if my internet is a little friendly, this is very heavy application, as you can tell. There we go. So that was it. So if I wanted to say change that message, I would go back to my where's my application? So I go here. Oh, right, I was in the template. Hello test. Hello branchcast.
Yeah, VS Code has replaced everything that I used to do with VI.
Yeah. It is shockingly helpful. Still a little confused at how many Microsoft products I use nowadays. I was raised an Apple fanboy, so I feel like I'm betraying my my heritage.
I started on Windows 3, actually no, DOS before Windows, and then had those for a while. Got to college, got exposed to Macs in college, had both for a while, and now sitting on my desk right now, I've got a MacBook that is not turned on at the moment. That we're broadcasting from Windows machine, and the machine that I do all my my work on is a Linux box. So.
Oh, nice. Have you tried the WSL V2 yet?
It's on the list of things to do. I would love to have just two Windows machines, one where it's just my my Windows machine with all my Linuxy stuff on it.
Yeah. That's there we go. I went to the wrong folder. Live demo jitters, making simple mistakes.
Oh, that's part of the fun.
Yeah. She was really helping me today too.
Yeah, I did a pretty cool demo yesterday with one of the developers from Containus, and his machine was being just a little slower than usual.
it's frustrating when it does that. It's like having no internet is better than having slow internet.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do a horrible add all. Updated version.
No SSH key on your GitHub?
Normally it does, but my work computer doesn't like things. And let's hopefully I remember my password. Nope. All right. I normally just use SSH key, so I won't do the live switchover demo.
All right.
I'll switch over to the more complex one. So the Helm one. So for extra points, yeah. So this is where I get a little more brazen. So if we go over here, so I have our Helm deploy agent here. So what they did was they have a little operator. It's called the Flux Helm operator, and it will kind of manage Helm releases for you. And so right now they support Helm 2, and Helm 3 is in their kind of preview phase. So that's what I'll be using today.
Awesome.
So yeah, so just to make it a little bit more difficult, so things could definitely explode. Yeah, so here we are. There's the link there, and here's our Helm release. So all the fun stuff that it needs to. So there's our CRD. Here's our Helm repositories that we'll be passing in, and so this is also using Kustomize.
Okay.
Or Kustomize as well as just plain old kubectl apply. So this one's not doing anything too crazy. So there's everything that's applying. It generated secret, and it's using the patch strategy here. So that's what it's kind of overriding things with. And our actual Helm deploy is, where are we? So I have a few things in here. So here is, again, some extra Helm stuff. Here's a Harbor release, just in honor of the 1.9.
Awesome.
So this is how you define it. So it's Helm release. You pass your name, namespace as usual, and then your spec. You just more or less copy and paste the actual template or the values file. So everything's in there, and then as well, just again to stay on theme, we're going to have Cert Manager plus Rancher.
Awesome.
And so I forgot to change up the version to something a little bit more bleeding edge, but 2.2.8 I think is a pretty.
That is the latest.
Pretty good release.
That is the latest of the stable branch.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
You haven't gone pure 2.3 release candidate, but
thought about it, but I didn't get there. Where am I going? Oh, wow, that is tiny. Rancher multi-demo. So I do okay. Okay. There we go. And there we go. So it's doing its thing.
Awesome.
So I've noticed it. Oh, go ahead.
So memcached, is that part of your deployment or part of the Flux operator?
It's part of the Flux operator. So that's where it keeps it keeps track of all the images and the different little bits. So I'll show you kind of some of the output in just a second. All right. So here, if I did list images, it's going to show me all the deployments, what release they're currently on, and which are available.
Awesome.
Yeah. So for Flux here, so the problem with doing kind of multiple individual Flux releases is you get multiple memcached agents.
Okay.
So you kind of add to your overhead. Once I'm done this, I'll show off the multi-tenancy implementation that they've demoed off, or they've put together, and that gets around that issue. So you have kind of a master Flux with a memcached, and then you just have, for every team, you would have each team would have its own Flux agent, but they'd share that same single memcached deployment.
Nice.
Yeah. So here's my latest tag. So don't. It's not being used, but it's there. My identity. Say I want to go to Helm. Boy. Ooh, there's my identity. So we'll go back here.
Show the world your deploy keys.
Yep, pretty much. Now watch me not forget to actually delete them, and someone will be able to deploy Rancher. So I think that'll be the worst that can happen there.
Oh no.
Yeah. As well as Harbor. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Here it is. They had a lot of these tabs pre-opened. One. What did I do? Oh, right.
I always do the thing where I forget to hit Control Shift C versus Control C, depending on which terminal I'm in.
Yeah, like when you go from, I've been bouncing between Hyper here and then the one that comes with VS Code. Yep. And Hyper's, the Control Shift. It frequently throws me off. So let's go. I've noticed this deployment takes a little bit longer because it has to create the CRD, then it has to do all the Helmy stuff.
Yep.
Up we go. Okay, good to go. I forget what the label is. Name. There you go. So here it's pulling for images. So it doesn't have permission to pull this stuff, so it's yelling about the credentials, which is A-OK. And there we go. So it's giving an error here. Can't find the namespace because it's not there. And yeah.
Yay, eventual consistency.
Yeah. So it's I'm even looking at the wrong one. So okay, it's Flux forward namespace is Helm deploy. Oh, was there the output from our master?
Okay.
Oh, what did I do? Trying to pass a Flux command line to kubectl. There we go. So we can see here, so it's saying, hey, my release manager, it's back in business. So awesome. The CRD has created, so I should be able to do get HR, no resources found. Great. So it's starting to spin things up.
It's getting there.
Yeah. So it's just going to take a little bit. Okay, PO.
You get Tmux going with like 4 watch windows.
I could do that, but everything would get really small.
Yes, it would get very small very fast.
And so I'll just hit a watch this, and then so while that's running, I can show you, oh, that's right. That's not going in that namespace. So here, so it's already created the Rancher namespace as well as the Harbor namespace. Harbor. So it's going to take a little bit. Let's see if Rancher is ready. It's going to be a race between the two.
Yeah.
So while they're running, I can show you what the multi-tenancy setup looks like.
All right.
I'm not going to do that today just because it's quite big, but it's a fun look nonetheless. So it's all driven through, again, customize. So we have our base Flux and Flux and Memcached here, and we can control, say, the version of Flux, the image that's being pulled. I need to update these. They've since changed the repository from a Weave-based one to their own endpoint. So
Okay.
they've stripped out all the, or I think most, if not all, of the references to Weaveworks since joining the CNCF.
Okay.
So here's our context. So it'll provide all that for you, the Git key, the deployment, and everything else that's right there. And then so they have a little area for your cluster, and then they have it set up so more or less every team has their own little namespace or project. So in this case, it creates the master agent has control of all the cluster level utilities. So RBAC, role, namespace creation, and you just sync it up with whatever repo that team member wanted, and they'd have access to deploy anything they want there, with the exception of the cluster level stuff. So it's a nice way to kind of control, keep the cluster level stuff at a higher level while delegating all that the lower level namespace stuff to the actual developers. And you can also control, because we love OPA, Gatekeeper. So they have that set up so it pre-installs.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can do. So here's our Gatekeeper template, and here's our constraints. So we're saying namespace team 1. These and these are the kinds that are going to be targeted by the policy.
Okay.
So these are just some basic ones. So this is making sure the container registry is one that's trusted.
All right.
So if it doesn't match, boot it out. So that's a basic. And then here's a few more. It's like, hey, does it have memory limits? If not, prevent the deploying of it. And they've also pre-packed it with Flagger. So if you wanted to do your A/B canary testing, you can do that. It works with both Linkerd as well as Istio. So you can it's using the service mesh interface, SMI. So really whatever service mesh you want should be okay. And yeah, so that's kind of the gist of it. So it's a nice way to manage a cluster at scale, give teams little workspaces, and make sure that the cluster level resources aren't touched or impacted unduly. And then if you ever need to, say, migrate a cluster from on-prem to any of the clouds, it's all right here, right? So you just need to change that master Flux agent to point to, installed in the new cluster and point to the repo, and then it syncs up. That makes your migration story a lot more straightforward.
Nice.
And there we go. Rancher's up, as well as Harbor. So it's all coming up. So I didn't have to do anything. It's managed through, this is using Helm 3, so which hopefully will be released sometime this year. Or the V1 of Helm 3 will hopefully be sometime this year. And yeah, so it's really awesome that it has this level of kind of control, and you just put everything in Git and tell this little agent to just deploy things on your behalf. And that's what's got me really excited about it. We're trying to figure out how to manage workloads. Do you give people kubectl access, much to the chagrin of Kelsey Hightower? And this is a really nice way to get around that. It supports the three major deployment methods: kubectl, customize, as well as Helm. Put them all right out of the box, and you just go start deploying stuff. You delegate that security concern to, you're not sharing any of the kube credentials with any of your CI tools, so you've reduced that. If there's a security concern there, it's no longer there. It works on a PR based. If the cluster gets compromised, just revoke the SSH key, and it really helps simplify things.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, the only thing that's really missing is kind of a GUI to monitor things. But if you're going through Git for all your deployments, it's not a huge issue. there is, so if I go to the Flux, so if people are looking for something to get feedback, that's one of the things that I've noticed is kind of annoying, is that you don't have, if a deployment fails, you have to look at the agent logs. So someone actually went ahead and, where is it? I haven't tried this out yet. So they've made a tool called Flux Cloud, and that will forward the messages to Slack, email, or MS Teams.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. I think, Jaeger endpoint too. Cool. So there's a few little plugins around that. The community there, and someone did make a UI. I don't have a link for it right now, but I can give that to you later. So yeah, you can do. It also supports OpenFaaS, which is really, really neat. Another one I haven't given the tires on yet, but if it's Cube, it works through here, and it's super simple, lightweight. I really can't say enough good things about it. And the team is awesome. They're very very, very nice and super responsive.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, it's a CNCF project. I don't think I've been involved with a CNCF project yet where I didn't love the team I was working with.
Yeah, they definitely fit in. Yeah. So and just to kind of finish off the demo, just to show you that it actually works. So T-dash, so three. What did I do? Forward. Eight, 443. It does not want to work for me today. Am I just blanking? It's host then container, right?
That's correct. I mean, I make that mistake every demo I give, but yes, I do believe it is host that container. Do you need to 8443 to the 80 or in this case?
Maybe. I give it a try.
So I guess it says forwarding from.
Yeah, it said it was forwarding from 8443 to 8443. There we go. So here we are. And we have a container registry up and running.
Woohoo!
Woo! 2, 3, 4, 5. There we are. So we're all up and running on the latest version. And then same thing for good old Rancher. Oh, right. It doesn't like it when I do a service forward. So they're all up and running. Just awesome. Forward that.
So just a cached response?
Yeah, I think so. So here we go. And a password that I will soon forget. And yeah, sure, that's my, not that I'm going to be connecting it to anything other than the existing cluster. So here it's setting up. And if you go into local, there's all of our CPU. So it's just going to do its little thing. And then you can see everything we've deployed already. It's all hooked up.
Awesome. Really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite powerful. I'm very excited about it. Looking forward to seeing how it goes in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, if you want to stop sharing your screen, I'll switch back to a camera view.
Cool. There you go.
All
You
right.
should have full control now.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah. So thanks for the awesome demo. So what else, anything else you want to talk about? What's going on? I saw online you're speaking tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm doing a talk at our local HashiCorp user group, so covering using Open Policy Agent with the Terraform.
All right. That's
So just using that too.
I'll have to have you back for that. You can see I'm wearing
Yeah,
my OPA shirt today.
I'll try to make the presentation a little bit more complex. It's going to be something a little simple tonight, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for taking time out.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
And yeah, well, for those of you who want to see more, go ahead and join us, on our Slack workspace. Let me grab that specific screen. You can always join us on the Slack workspace. Chris is out there. He's Macintosh Prime. He's also a member of our trusted Ranch Hands team. That team is. Oops, it would help if I would switch my screen over to show my screen. There we go. He's a member of our trusted Ranch Hands team. These are people who are Kubernetes and Rancher experts who are just out there helping other people. So they're an awesome group of individuals, and I'm very thankful for him to be a member of the team and for giving this demo today. So, Chris, thank you again so much. And
it's awesome being here. Thank you.
You're welcome, and to everybody else out there, we'll see you next time. All right, bye now.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.